here with Mr. Christopher Smith, and he has a great deal of experience in creating PowerPoint presentations in the corporate workplace. And he's going to tell us about how he creates presentations and the different kinds of PowerPoint presentations that he's used.
So before I start creating a PowerPoint presentation, I determine which category of presentation I'm working on. And I really divide that into two. One is for a presentation with an audience, typically a sales or a seminar type situation. The other category is a presentation or briefing book for senior management. And the kind of guidelines that I follow for each of those are quite different from each other. And today we'll focus on the former, where it's a slideshow in front of an audience in a sales or a seminar type situation. And within that category, whenever I'm setting out to create an outline, the main three subsections of the presentations are pretty much always the same. The first part is to introduce the information, in other words, tell the audience what it is I'm about to convey to them. The second part is the delivery of the content of what I'm talking about in the presentation. And the third is a summarization. So in the old parlance, it's tell them what you're going to tell them, and tell them what you told them.
In terms of slide content, can you tell us a little bit more about how you prepare the content of each individual slide?
Well, sure. Well, the first slide is going to be the agenda slide that covers the main topics of the presentation. And then each slide that supports that agenda should cover a single topic, and it should you should plan on speaking about a minute per slide. So the number of slides that you need to make should be planned according to how much time you've been allotted to speak for your presentation. On each slide, you should have summary bullets for the subtopics that you're going to cover on that slide. And the number of bullets should really be 3 or 5. If you only have one bullet, it should be moved to another slide. And if you have more than 5, it's really too much information for a given slide. No one will be able to read it from an audience, and you might as well not have a slide there at all. So 3 or 5 is really the right number. And I'm going to have a summary slide at the end that reviews the main topics that I talked about in the agenda, and really putting a fine point on what I want them to remember leaving the presentation. And then the final slide should be acknowledgement of who contributed to the content, who I depended on for sources and for funding. So that's really the next level of detail describing the content of a presentation.
Okay, that's really helpful. In terms of how your slides look, in terms of the colors you use, the transitions you use, the fonts that you prefer, what have you found to be the most effective?
Well, when you go into PowerPoint and you go through and look at all the choices that they provided via templates, there's some very, very attractive colors and fonts and designs that they provide. But the thing you have to keep in mind is, what is this going to look like in the back row of the audience? You really want them to be able to see it. And if your purpose, which of course it is to communicate information to the audience, you want to make sure that nothing is getting in the way of that. And there are many temptations in the PowerPoint feature set that can in fact distract. First of all, you want very high contrast between the background and the font face that you choose. And so, although people may find it boring, the ultimate combination for contrast is black font on a white background. And maybe you find that boring, but in fact it is the best way to make it legible in the back of the room. Further, when you're picking a particular font face, there are two classes of fonts. There's serif and sans serif. And serifs are the little adornments around the corners of each of the characters in a font face, and those generally are considered to be more legible than the ones that are without serifs. So I would recommend those. Times New Roman is probably the most popular serif type font. You want to be careful that if you are going to adorn the template with colors, which can be attractive, that you put them around the outside rather than anywhere near the text where they might conflict with the legibility. You also have to be careful that there are many, many features in terms of animations and transitions that are tempting to use because you think you might be able to grab the audience's attention. But you can definitely overuse them very, very quickly, and I would use them sparingly in the presentation.
Well, thank you so much for being with us today.
My pleasure.